So, good evening, everyone, and welcome to the final session of Walking the Aryan Spirit with Dr. Monica Gelati. Before we start the session, we'll have a moment's silence, please, and then Monica will introduce the session.
Thank you, James, and very warm welcome everyone. So we'll start with the last session for this workshop, and we know that this may be the last session, but we have been journeying since ages, and this is a long process. So I will just pick up the threads from where we stopped last. So although topic today is challenges on the path and dissolving the challenges, overcoming obstacles. But first we'll finish the qualities that we were talking of in the last session, the attributes, 12 attributes, and then we will go on to the next theme. And in between, if there is anything, feel free to share. Okay. So I'm just, I know that we have covered receptivity and progress. So I'm just going to share a bit on receptivity because I think that it's quite, maybe I'm not sure how good I touched upon it. So just reading something from the mother on receptivity, and then we'll move forward to the rest of the qualities. So mother says, somebody asks a question, mother, on what does receptivity depend? And mother says it depends first of all upon sincerity, on whether one really wants to receive. And then, yes, I believe the principal factors are sincerity and humility. So humility, as we discussed, that we know that there is a higher power more than us, the little selves. And sincerity is to be transparent within ourselves. And then mother continues, there is nothing that closes you up more than vanity. When you are self-satisfied, you have that kind of vanity of not wanting to admit that you lack something, that you make mistakes, that you are incomplete, that you are imperfect, that you are, there is something in your nature which does not want to admit. It is this which prevents you from receiving. So I think from time to time we have all of us have these phases where we become too rigid, too tight, stiff in ourselves. And then obstacles, when they arise, when we go through really hard situations, difficult situations, they serve this purpose of mellowing us down so that we become receptive. And then mother says that when you make a mistake, then a part of being must admit that yes, I have made a mistake. And she says that it begins by hurting you very much. So this, most of us have observed that it hurts us when we admit that, oh, something is wrong, say there is some weakness, ill will, something still there. So it's okay because we have been living that way for a long time. So it becomes a part of our self. And when that is now ready to dissociate, it hurts. We are not ready to accept. So mother says that it begins by hurting you very much. But when you hold on firmly until this is admitted, immediately it is open. So the moment I admit, yes, it was my arrogance or whatever, vanity, too much pride, non-transparency, non-sincerity, the moment the admission is made to oneself, then it is open. It is open, and strangely a flood of light enters, and then you feel so glad afterwards, so happy, that you ask yourself, why was I foolish enough to resist so long? So I think this is a very practical experience for all of us. So just wanted to add on. Progress we touched upon yesterday, and today we are going to take up now, starting with courage. So on courage, Mother says courage is the total absence of fear in any form. And fear is an impurity, one of the greatest impurities. To walk on the path, one must be dauntless and never indulge in that petty, small, feeble, nasty shrinking back upon oneself, which is fear. So we must have observed this shrinking in ourselves whenever fear is there. We become, something in us becomes very little, and it wants to protect itself, like what will happen of me. So Mother says that stay away from that shrinking. Don't listen to the dictate of the fear. An indomitable courage, a perfect sincerity, and a sincere self-giving, so that one does not calculate or bargain, does not give with the idea of receiving. So I don't have to think, now I am giving myself to the mother, what will I get in return? Now I am giving my life for something higher, what will I get in return? If we have this calculation, then this is not going to help. We'll have to receive more blows then, and then it has to be corrected, because one must walk on the path for the love of walking on the path. One must give oneself to the divine for the love of joy of giving oneself to the divine. And then Mother says that it is this that is indispensable in order to walk on the path, and it is alone which can truly shelter you from all danger. So a complete self-giving, bold self-giving, without any calculation or manipulation. And then she talks about a courage which is contagious. When we see courageous people, we really get inspired that, wow, he could do that or she could do that. So she says that whoever has courage can give courage to others, just as the flame of the candle can light up another. So each one of us can be that one drop of courage which inspires, which spreads itself out. And then she also talks about courage of accepting one's faults. As we grow adults, I think one thing which comes with adults is that we are not ready to accept our faults. And that is why we see in children also, they begin to hide their faults. They are not ready to accept, because they see adults also never accept. So why should I accept? But if as adults I am progressive, I know that I am full of imperfections and I can accept and transform my imperfections, then children also learn the same, that we can work on our imperfections and move towards perfection. So no need to defend our faults. So this is also a very courageous step, to accept one's faults. And then Mother talks of the courage of supreme adventure. So she says that this courage means having a taste for the supreme adventure, and when it takes hold of you completely, without calculation, without reserve, without a possibility of withdrawal, into this greater adventure of divine discovery and yet greater adventure of divine realization, you throw yourself into the adventure without looking back and without asking for a single minute what's going to happen. So you're not afraid that what will happen next. Uncalculated self-giving with full courage for this supreme adventure. Yeah, so that's courage. Anything here? Anyone? And then the next one is goodness or goodwill. And One of the aspects of goodwill is also to rejoice in the happiness of others. Then we can also, usually whenever many a times it happens that somebody else has gotten good health, somebody else has gotten good money, maybe good property, good relationships, and we all the time keep on comparing them with us, and we end up being very jealous, or a sense of lack emerges in the being, that why are they so happy, why am I not so happy? Again, our perceptions, they may not be really happy, but they feel, they look like happy. So we are not able to rejoice in others happiness. So if someone else is happy, can we step in their shoes and just connect with the same divine in all, that I am the same divine, in me also the same divine resides, and in the other also the same divine resides, and rejoicing in their success. How happy they must be that they have good health. How happy they must be that they are doing what they want. Yes, I may not be doing what I want, but I can still rejoice instead of getting shrinking in jealousy. So that's goodness. And then mother says that you must be good for the love of goodness. So why you must be good? Because you feel good when you are good. It gives you a sense of purity, not that what will you get in return. So just for the love of goodness, you must be good. You must be just for the love of justice. You must be pure for the love of purity, and you must be disinterested for the love of disinterestedness. Not asking that what will a disinterested life give me, because this is what our transactional mind is. It is always using everything as a means to an end. Okay, let me do college. What will college give me? Maybe a good job. What will job give me? Maybe good money. What will money bring me? Maybe good property. So this is our worldly mind, sansaric mind. It's always abusing anything as a means to an end. This is what needs to be shifted. So why am I good? Because I feel good when I am good. Because it gives me purity. So just for this, as mother says, you must be good for the love of goodness. I am in love with goodness. You have developed a new taste. Ill will, nobody likes ill will. When we have ill will, it brings a lot of unease in us. So to be very sensitive to that unease and impurity when it is there. So then mother says that a good deed is sweeter to the heart than a sweet in the mouth. A day spent without doing a good deed is a day without a soul. So goodness or goodwill connects us to our soul consciousness. That's why being good. When we are expecting, demanding, that disconnects us from our soul consciousness. So that's the quality of goodness. Modest in appearance, does not make a show, but always ready to be useful. And then we have a generosity, where it's giving, but it's a uncalculated giving, not that what will I get in return. And in Buddhist texts, they say that the supreme generosity is non-attachment. When we live in a non-attached way, when we don't stick either to people, relationships, our own opinions, ideas, dogmas, this non-stickiness is the supreme generosity. This is the best gift we can give to ourselves and others. So mother says generosity is to find one's own satisfaction in the satisfaction of others. And then she says that a poor man is a man having no qualities, no force, no strength, no generosity. A poor man may be very rich if his heart is generous. Moreover, one is unhappy only when one is not generous. So we were talking a few days ago, we were talking that why is one unhappy? Because you will see that we are always wanting for ourselves. This is lacking in my life, that is lacking in my life, never ready to give ourselves without calculation. So mother says that this is the reason for our unhappiness, that we don't give ourselves either to the world, to the divine. So she says, if one has a generous nature which gives of itself without reckoning, one is never unhappy. It is those who are coiled up upon themselves and who always want to draw things towards themselves. Mujhe kya milega? What will I get out of it? It is those who are unhappy. But when one gives oneself generously without reckoning, one is never unhappy, never. It is he who wants to take who is unhappy. He who gives himself is never unhappy. So I think this is a very good tool for us to, kind of make use of day-to-day life. Whenever we are feeling unhappy, we can see that some or the other hidden demand, expectation must have arisen in the being. Now I want this, now this is not happening, that is not happening, that person is not behaving according to me. Why am I not like that? So that's what makes us down. When we give ourselves and forget our own expectations, demands, and needs, just keep them aside for some time. They let them be unfulfilled. All the wishes remain unfulfilled. All the little needs, wants of approval, let them remain unfulfilled. Keep them at the back. Then we see that we can give ourselves. That brings fulfillment. So self-forgetfulness, one kind of, yeah. And then there are two qualities which are extremely, again, very powerful. The last two qualities which go together. One is equanimity, and the other, which equanimity brings, is peace. So equanimity, I'm going to read something from the Synthesis of Yoga. There is a chapter on equality, beautiful chapter for those of us who really want to understand what kind of equanimity is being asked of us. And also Sri Aurobindo talks about peace there, because when there is equanimity in the being, there is peace. So we are going to just maybe take up these lines of Sri Aurobindo on the action of equality. It is Synthesis of Yoga. So just lend me your ear for some time. Equality. It is not mere quiescence and indifference, not a withdrawal from experience, but a superiority to the present reactions of mind and life. It is the spiritual way of replying to life, or rather of embracing it and compelling it to become a perfect form of action of self and spirit. It is the first secret of the soul's mastery of existence. When we have it in perfection, we are admitted to the very ground of divine spiritual nature. To be equal, not to be overborne by any stress of desire, is the first condition of real mastery. But a mere mental equality, however great it may be, is hampered by the tendency of quiescence. So whenever we are trying to mentally impose an equality, we will see that it has limitations. We will get frustrated soon, that this much is enough, I can't do more, because this is exerted from above. It's like on the surface that we are trying to exert. It's not a pure understanding. So then he takes us to the pure understanding. He says it is only the spirit which is capable of sublime, undisturbed rapidities of will, as well as an illimitable patience, equally just in a slow and deliberate, or a swift and violent, equally secure in a safely lined and limited, or a vast and enormous action. So if one is in touch with the spirit, then there is true equality. So that's the power of getting in touch with our true consciousness. Because then equality is a habit. You can't help but be in equanimity. Equanimity is the quality of spirit. We may try from our thought domain to impose that let me be equal, let me not, be impartial, but that will only be very limited. So that's what he is sharing. Then he says, the first business of the sadhaka is to see whether he has this perfect equality, how far he has gone in this direction, or else where is the flaw. and to exercise steadily his will on his nature and invite the will of the Purusha, the consciousness, to get rid of the defect and its causes. So if I see that I am not equal, I am still biased, when I'm sad, I become really sad, and when I'm happy, I'm very, very excited. If I see this happening, then I must exert this pressure from my witnessing consciousness. Because when we take a stance as witnessing consciousness, then we are able to be equanimous. When we are too lost and identified in the thoughts and feelings, then we can't be equanimous. It's impossible. And then he talks about 4 things the sadhak must have. First, equality in the most concrete, practical sense of the word. Samata, freedom from mental, vital, physical preferences. So looking at, see, I still have likings here and there at the thought level, then at the feelings level. I want this, not that. Looking at our preferences, mental preferences, bodily preferences, feelings, preferences at the level of emotions. That, just like when we are waiting for an approval from someone, that's a preference. That why is that person not smiling? I do so much for him, but he's not smiling at me. So again, a preference, not equality. So this is the first aspect, samata, freedom from mental, vital, physical preferences, and even acceptance of God's working within and around him. So whatever is happening, the working of God within and without has to be taken in an attitude of samata. Then secondly, a firm peace and absence of all disturbance and trouble, shanti. So the first is shamata, second is shanti. Shanti is peace and absence of all disturbance from the trouble. Now this cannot come if I always live in the surface consciousness, in the thoughts, in the feelings, in the senses of the body. We will have to sink deep within. We have to take a plunge deep within. So again, if we look at the ocean, on the ocean, on the surface, you have many, many waves and things happening, maybe lots of garbage floating. But if we take a deep plunge in the depth, we see there is calm. So like that, we have to plunge deep in our being and look at the surface consciousness like something on the top. Yes, it is there, but I don't have to identify with that. So disidentifying from the surface consciousness, so that shanti is there. Second is shanti. Thirdly, a positive inner spiritual happiness. So yesterday we were talking of how peace can be degraded into tamas. We think we are peaceful, but it's a passive peace and it's tamas, it's inertia. So he's saying that a positive inner spiritual happiness, just like an Aryan would have ingathered consciousness, when not required, completely ingathered. The moment required, springing it out in action. No dullness, no space for lethargy. A positive inner spiritual happiness and spiritual ease of the natural being, which nothing can lessen. Sukham, he says. So this is true sukh, which is unalloyed with any impurity. So samata, shanti, sukham. And then fourthly, a clear joy and laughter of the soul, embracing life and existence. To be equal is to be infinite and universal. So it's not an easy quality, We have to constantly disengage from our finiteness. The moment I feel limited, suffocated, disengaging from that and knowing that, no, that's not me. To be equal is to be infinite and universal, not to limit oneself, not to bind oneself down to this or that form of mind and life and its partial preferences and desires. And this is what he means to be equal. Now he says that there is a test. The test that we have done this is the presence of an undisturbed calm in the mind and spirit. So this is the sign. When to a relatively good degree we are successful in establishing equality, equanimity in the being, then what is the sign? Undisturbed calm in the mind and spirit. Usually we see how mind is always disturbed with thoughts, repetitive patterns. In the heart of emotions, we have turmoils. Bhav sagar in Hindi we call, bhavnaon ka sagar. So he says undisturbed calm in mind and spirit. The sadhak must be on the watch as the witnessing and willing Purusha behind, or better, as soon as he can manage it, above the mind. So higher light, above the mind, a higher light which is able to supervise all the actions of mind and repel even the least incidents of trouble. So the moment one sees a disturbance in the being, one is able to repel it, uproot it. So a complete kind of intolerance for any disturbance, developing a new taste in the being. So above the mind and repel even the least incidents of trouble, anxiety, grief, revolt, and disturbance in his mind. So as if there is a vigilant guard overruling the inner sanctuary, the whole sanctuary, and it takes care that nothing disturbs the sanity of the being. If these things come, he must at once detect their source. So the moment disturbance comes, one must know, aaj kya kiya, what did happen that I became like that, disturbed. So one must detect their source, the defect which they indicate, the fault of egoistic claim, vital desire, emotional desire, or any emotion from which they start. And this he must discourage by his will. So now, having a new taste for my being, a new kind of ease that I want in my being, any intruder has to be taken care of. Just like, whenever we are living in societies where there are guards outside, what do? They let only the residents enter, and they always make an entry if there any stranger is entering. So like that vigilant guard, we have to sit on our periphery. So he must discourage this by his will, his spiritualized intelligence, and his soul unity with the master of his being. On no account must he admit any excuse for them. So many a times it may happen that in apartments, a stranger wants to enter. He says, I am a friend of so and so. But he's actually a culprit, maybe wants to make some hooliganism inside the apartments. So on no account, he's saying. What does he say? On no account must he admit any excuse for them. So strangers like desire, jealousy, anger, ill will, victimization, sadness, sorrow, grief, lamentation, misery, all these are intruders. And they may come wearing a cloak of, that I am a friend of this and this, but I will help you. Let me enter, I will help you. So on no account they can be allowed. However, natural or seeming or plausible their excuse may be, but they will not be allowed. So then he says that now if it is the prana which is troubled, many a times we have life energy in us which is feeding the emotions, which is troubled. So then he says that if it's the prana which is troubled and clamorous, he must separate himself from the troubled prana. So what do? I again take the witnessing stance. Looking at the emotions, not being the emotions. Looking at the sadness that is coming up today, not engaging with the sadness. So taking the witness stance, and as if you are sitting by side of the river and just looking at the things coming go, and it may, bring us a bit of darker cloud, it may, but we are not engaging. Something in us know that I don't have to engage. So he says that he must separate himself from the troubled prana, keep seated his higher nature in the buddhi. Buddhi is discernment, our intellect which knows what is right and wrong. So we can keep our seat there in the buddhi and reject the claim of desire soul in him. So Sri Aurobindo says that, Mother Sri Aurobindo says that our task in this human life is to move from the desiring soul, always wanting, demanding, desiring, to the true soul. It is the desire soul who has all these expectations, demands, and disappointments. It is all belonging to the desire soul. So whenever the desire soul shows its face up, wants too much excitement or gets disappointed, I have to disidentify. I am not that. So how to disidentify? We become the witness. Who am I? I am the awareness which watches the drama. I am not the drama. In me, the drama happens. So this is how disengagement can happen. Stepping back can happen. Very important, very crucial. Otherwise, we cannot have self-mastery. It's only when a distance is created from thoughts, I am witnessing the thoughts, feelings, I am witnessing the feeling. So when this distance is created, then only we can have equanimity and even peace in the being. So these are last two qualities. I think then we are just done with the day 3, that we equanimity and peace. Then he says to want what the divine wants always in every circumstance is the only way to enjoy an unshakable peace. So we'll take maybe a few reflections here if there are any. Anyone, anything to share?
Yeah, Monica. Yeah, you mentioned about courage. So, in a practical way, we are afraid of many things. Like we are afraid of the dark. Like I'm afraid of the dark, or afraid of going to a strange place, or being, or even you're afraid of insects, or things like that. Now, does it mean that also? Because I've been reading this or hearing about this, that one needs to be courageous. So does it involves all these things? So does it mean we have to confront these things, like we have to go and go to dark places or go down a dark road or something? I mean, or when I'm going, or should I avoid, or should I challenge myself that, okay, chalo ye rasta bahut. Sorry, because this is something that comes in my mind all the time. Courage matlab kya? Or is it some other courage? Is it this kind of a practical courage, or does it mean ki no matter what problems are going to come into my life, no matter what issues will come, I'm going to reach the goal and I'm going to go there? Does it mean that kind of a courage? Because I'm really scared of certain insects, or like that. We are I'm mortally scared. I'm scared of heights. Like now I've come over it a lot, but heights ka dar lagta hai. There are many things that we are scared of. Yeah, yes.
So I think ultimately what you just shared, ultimately maybe one day we will not be scared of the insects and heights and all that. But I think starting from what Mother suggests, looking at our imperfections, weaknesses, and uniting ourselves with our true consciousness. So what you were sharing, being afraid of heights, for example, or being afraid of a few insects or animals, that will be a culmination, I believe, of, you don't have to put yourself in a cage of tiger to know how courageous you are. No, not at all. In fact, you will be eaten up because the consciousness is not right. So the first task is to identify ourselves with the true consciousness. In the greater degree as it happens, you will see, then you will actually feel like attempting a few things which you were earlier afraid of. Like maybe, example, sitting on a high jhula, for example, if you want to check, has it gone or is it still there, right? But that is only later thing. I would not suggest, again my personal suggestion, I would not suggest that, okay, now if you're afraid of chipkali or a lizard, then hold a chipkali from its tail. No, that's not courage. Courage is transforming our imperfections and to a greater degree uniting with our true consciousness. And on the way, if any obstacle comes, I will face it, as you were sharing. So the more and more we unite with that true consciousness, because that true consciousness is there in every being. Even a lizard has that. An insect has that, right? An elephant has that. Then there will be a true connection with all the beings which I would be earlier afraid of. So yeah, that's what is my understanding. Yeah.
Yeah, another thing that I wanted to know, like you were saying, when you go into the depths or you go inside, and then you see, just say samundar ke andar, it's so calm and peaceful, and upar you see all the kachra or whatever, all the upheavals going up and down. You see, uh, does there come a stage when you withdraw into yourself and you're watching something happening? I mean, you're kind of watching it like, like, how do I put it? I don't mean you're enjoying it in that sense, not a vicarious enjoyment, देखो ये लोग कैसे झगड़ा कर रहे हैं, not like that, but you're kind of, I don't know if you're kind of just observing and just um, not enjoying in a negative way, but you're kind of observing and thinking, oh, this is the way how things are, this is the way how people react, this is the way how anger is coming. And sometime back I was like this. I mean, is that, do we also do this thinking process?
I think this is when we are mostly in the a slave of mental consciousness. Usually we are here, the what you just shared, right? We are always calculating, analyzing, interpreting, right? This is how they behave, this is how I behave. So this is all mental analysis. But as mother says that more and more you begin to have a practical realization that the inner being is your concrete reality and not the surface consciousness. Right now, what do I think? See, when I'm disengaging from the surface consciousness, the mental and emotional chatter, what am I thinking? I am disengaging from my true self. Right? This is how we live. That what am I doing? I am stepping back from myself. But that is not ourself. So mother says that right now that surface consciousness is my concrete reality. I can't ignore what that person did or said, right? It's hard to ignore. Why? Because I take that as real. The more and more we begin to live within ourselves in an ingathered state, this becomes more real and that becomes illusory. So all this mental calculation need not be there. Reflections have their true purpose, in our understanding, growth, contemplation, reflections, they have their own place. But mind, as Sri Aurobindo says, mind is a receptacle for higher knowledge. It is just an instrument of sorting and organizing. It's not an instrument of knowledge, it's for receiving the knowledge. Now how would you, if you are pouring tea in my cup and my cup is upside down, you can't. If my cup is full of filth, you can't. So what do I have to do? I have to keep a clean cup. That's the purpose of mind. Keeping it clean, still and clear, so that the higher knowledge, like it descends into the mind. We abuse the mind. We use the mind at wrong places. Like you have a knife and every task of the house you are doing with the knife. So it's a wrong use of knife. That's what we do. We use the mind at a wrong place. The tool is not a problem. When you have to organize your house, make it tidy, okay, sort things, this is this is that, then mind is of a beautiful use. But we abuse, we overanalyze, we overinterpret, and we believe those interpretations. That's the abuse we have to stop. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, that means all those analysis we stop. Yeah, I understand that.
We will have to stop.
Yeah, and our reactions and the petty reactions we do, that stops. Then what are we are just calm inside, we are just being our true self, which is so. Yeah.
So see, for example, the good example that I see here is example that I am addicted to nowadays, say Netflix or whatever, say social media. I am addicted to social media. Now if I have nothing to do and there is TV in the front or mobile in the front, laptop in the front, and I keep on saying no, 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 I have to disengage, no, 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 I am not going to see, this is not going to work. So along with de-addiction comes rehabilitation. You would have seen whenever people are getting de-addicted of alcohol, cigarettes, etc., when they go to rehabilitation centers, then along with removing cigarettes from their life, they bring qualities to nurture: gardening, some music, some poetry, some self-expression, some social service. So this is what we do. We just not sit at home and do neti neti of all that. That's not going to work. They will become too overwhelming. And that is why Sri Aurobindo and Mother talks of Swabhava and Swadharma. So Swabhava is my natural inclinations. For some it could be social service. For some it could be, financial services. Could be anything depending on our nature. Wherever, in whatever little field I can offer myself. Naturally, my inclination is there. That which I can do without getting tired. Baking cookies, for example, for someone could be, Swabhava. For someone else, it could not be. So we have to understand our Swabhava, look at our natural inclinations, and we have to nurture that Swabhava and put all the energy which is now not going in all the scattered threads, put all that energy in nurturing and fostering our being, so that the Swadharma can unfold itself, the true unfolding of truth in my life can take place. And for that will be different for every individual. It's unique for every individual, how the life is going to unfold, what kind of steps are going to come in front. For some it could be public expression, for some it could be solitude. So we cannot make a formula, but parallelly, as we de-addict ourselves of mental analysis, we have to nurture and foster our talents, abilities, and give ourselves some kind of service in whatever little form. It is not that I have to go out to an NGO and do some service. For some it could be, for some others it could not be a calling. So whatever little domain, Mother says, that I can find, that I can offer myself. So along with de-addiction of mental analysis, too much engagement in the mind, I also have to foster, rehabilitate myself, nurture my being. That's where the energies will go. Yeah. Yeah, anything else? Anyone here? So shall we move to the next theme, if not anything? Yeah. Okay. So as we see, and I think we all have an understanding by now, that challenges on the path are there for a purpose. They are stepping stones in our growth. So one doesn't have to be afraid of challenges, but welcome challenges. That if something has come up, it must have come up to show me something. And I know that I have equal amount of strength also to overcome and to transform that challenge. So Mother says, when you come to yoga, you must be ready to have all your mental buildings and all your vital scaffoldings, means our emotional attachments, shattered to pieces. So that's why courage is needed. We have to get shattered, because that's a shell that is covering the true us. You must be prepared to be suspended in the air with nothing to support you except your faith. Ever felt? I'm sure we must have felt this, suspended in the air with nothing to hold except your faith. You have to forget all your past self and its clingings altogether, to pluck it out of your consciousness and to be born anew, free from every kind of bondage. Think of not what you were, but what you aspire to be. Turn from your dead past and look straight towards the future. Your religion, country, family lie there. It is the divine. So everything has to be given away if need be. We have to be ready to just let go of anything and everything. So many a times people really wonder that from the time I have entered the path, this is happening, my loved ones are going away from me, I don't have many friends. It is there for a purpose. We are being prepared. Because as long as we have handicaps, how will I have the full strength? So all the handicaps will be taken away. All my likings, preferences, desire, they will be shredded to pieces. And that's why Kabir ji, in his own way, would say, सूरा सोही जानिए लड़ा पांच के संग हरि नाम रटता रहे चढ़े सबाया रंग. So in English it would be, know that him to be the brave one who fights with the five senses. So we were observing how the sensory input has to be not believed, all the sensory interpretation and input. We don't have to buy in all what the mind says. One who is absorbed in the name of God has become colored with him. So this is the one who is true warrior, who does not want anything now but this true consciousness within. And rest everything will be an unfolding from that true consciousness. So we cannot imagine that, okay, if I am true consciousness, would I be just sitting like peacefully like this? No, it's not like that. We can't have images about it. For each one, the unfolding will be different. And in another one, Saint Kabir, he says, Sura sohi sarahiye lade dhani ke het, purja purja hai pade, tau na chhade khet. So only hail that brave one who fights for the divine. And when we say divine, it means my own true self, my own inner empire, truth consciousness. And he does not leave the field, even if he is cut to pieces. So there will be shatterings that we will go through. Tears will come, loved ones will be taken away. It may happen, it happens with many of us. But all of it has a purpose, and even then the true warrior will not leave the battlefield. Because the only purpose now he serves is truth consciousness. Rest everything he's allowed, he's allowing to let go of. So that's the true warrior, that's the true Aryan. So at every moment, one must know how to lose all in order to gain all. Mother says, so somebody asks actually that when we enter upon the path of yoga, why do our dear ones leave us? One loses all worldly possessions, all one's attachments. And to gain what? This question that somebody asks. And Mother says the most important thing, the only thing which is valuable is the divine consciousness. So we think what is valuable? All the family ties, property, wealth, name, fame, respect, having your own house, some good job, some kind of position that people respect you for. And Mother says, no, all that is bullshit, nothing. The most important thing, the only thing that is valuable is the divine consciousness. So this is the trade that is being done. And for this trade, everything can be given. We don't have to save anything for this trade. And to gain this, one must know how to lose all the goods of this world, to let go of all one's possessions, all desires, all attachments, all satisfactions. One must know how to lose all this if one wants to get the divine consciousness. So one can ask oneself a question, do I want it? Yeah, this bargain is maybe too expensive for some of us. So one can ask, do I want it? Because one doesn't know what one has to go through in order to get it. So if I am ready, yes, take away everything from me. Even then I just want the divine consciousness, nothing else. Then I am ready. And if I am not ready, then maybe not ready right now, maybe ready later. But the stupidity of our ignorance is that it seems like, oh my God, I have to give up my relations to get divine consciousness. So that's our ignorance. Because we don't know what is divine consciousness. We think it comes too cheap. So that's our ignorance, that's our stupidity. And Mother says that we don't know how to cure this stupidity. That I am saying, give all the old you have and take everything new. But people are not ready. They want to stick to the old. What can be done? So mother says that our stupidity is quite deep rooted. Takes time to get transformed. And then, there are times when we are very deeply connected with ourselves. Everything is very good, beautiful things are happening throughout the day. We are enjoying each and every moment. And then there are other times when, for some reason or another, we are very narrow, suffocated, not wanting to see anyone. We are not having any delight in the sky, the birds, the chirping. The day seems too dull, and one goes about like walking block of wood. Then mother says that if these things happen, which happen to each one of us, now if one is able to consciously unite with one's psychic being, one can always be in this state of receptivity, inner joy, inner energy, progress, and communion with the divine presence. So it is a call we have to take. Because without our saying, yes, this cannot come, it's a call I have to take. That what do I really, really want from my life? Do I want to make it really beautiful, able to benefit others and myself? Then I am ready to go through any obstacle. And I'm not going to give in to my moods, emotional fluctuations, mental confusions. I'm not going to give way to them. I'm going to be content within myself, keeping the mind home in the body with the mother, for example. That divine sweetness and intimacy that we get when we are united with the divine within. So when we have taken this call, then there is no turning around. And when one is communion with that, one sees it everywhere, in everything, and all things take on their true meaning. So when we give up this self-obsession, me, my story, my desires, my likings, how people are not listening to what I am saying, when we just give up all this, not opening now this portly, a bundle of, unfulfilled wishes, desire, just keeping them away in our background once and for all, then we can be really this, in this state of inner receptivity, openness to mother's grace. And even when the obstacles will come, we will be united with her, because we will not fuel our obstacles. We don't want anything from those desires which spring up from time to time. So one is able to maintain this continuously, this state of gladness and inner joy. And it doesn't have to be very excited form of joy, just this of sweet gladness inside our heart. And then mother offers us a tool which we have discussed earlier also. When the difficulty is egoistic or personal, and if one makes an offering of it and throws it into the fire of purification, one immediately feels the joy of progress. And if one does it sincerely, at once there is a welling up of joy. I think this, many of us who practice this consciously, they must have experienced it. Some selfish demand is coming up, arising, some mood is coming up, and you decide, no, babe, no, I'm not going to give in to the dictate. Not happening again. And you offer it to the fire, nothing doing, you don't want anything from that demand. Then you feel a gladness inside. And mother says when we step back from our desires, that gives us joy. Because whenever we are stepping back from our desires, we are stepping back into our true self, full of joy. So that's true joy, stepping back from our expectations, demands. Now, why can we talk about this? Because we have been there enough. We have been in the egoistic state enough. It has done its purpose. Now it's time to let it go. This we cannot say to a teenage growing up, for example, because there in his life, still ambition may have a role. Yeah, anything here? Anyone? Okay, so moving forward. So I think this is one of the vows that we take to ourselves again and again every day, we will be troubled. There will be times when the emotional attachments, overwhelms will be there. But now I would not consciously fuel it. I would not want anything from it. I have the mother, I have the divine presence. That's it. That's enough for me. So one becomes one drop of poison less in this universe of poison. So mother says, when you are good, when you are generous, noble, disinterested. So whenever we are helping people or, giving something, anything, someone, anything, disinterested. There is nothing that you demand from that person. No, want of approval, no more. Maybe I am doing for him, then he will do for me. So a kind of a disinterestedness, not wanting to intrude into somebody else's life in terms of curiosity. Let me see what's happening in their life. So all that has now vanished away. So it's a disinterested goodness, goodwill. So when you are good, generous, noble, disinterested, kind, what do? You create in you, around you, a particular atmosphere, and this atmosphere is a sort of luminous release. You breathe, you blossom like a flower in the sun. There is no painful recoil on yourself, no bitterness, no revolt, no miseries. Why? Because there is nothing that you demand for yourself. Nothing, absolutely nothing. Then there is this sweetness, gladness, and innocence. And parallelly, because full consecration takes a long time, and we will follow from time to time wrong dictates. Mother says every wrong action produces on the consciousness the effect of a wind that withers. So the moment you do anything which is not in alignment with the goodwill within or the truth consciousness within, you will see that you will feel uneasy. You would not feel glad about it. So every wrong action produces on the consciousness the effect of a wind that withers, of a cold that freezes, of a burning flames that consume. Every good and kind deed brings light, restfulness, joy, the sunshine in which flowers bloom. So just like, how a gardener takes care of his little farm, putting all the good seeds in there, flowering seeds, nurturing it with lots of manure, sunshine, all the water and everything, love, affection, care. And parallelly, we are weeding out all that is poisonous. Because we know how the quality of weeds, those of us who do some gardening, we know the quality of weeds. They spread their roots too far. That's why you will see malis, gardeners working all around. They keep on pulling off the weeds with their little instruments. From time to time, this has to be done. Same with our being. The moment we see a shadow or darkness, no, this action I should not have done, pull it out. No need to go in guilt and shame. Mother, I did this, now this belongs to you. Moving on. Again, always moving on. Mother says, not ever focusing on what you are, but what you want to become. I may have acted out of selfishness, but I don't want to remain here. So what do I want to become? I want to become generous and giving. So focusing on that, basing my actions on that. I may have done an action out of my suffocated self and limitation, my selfish egoness, and all that. But what do I want to become? I want to become expanded, vast, infinite. So focusing on that, how will I act if I want to become vast? And only reflecting just a bit which is required on the limitation, not identifying with the limitation. That's what we do. This brings us down. Whenever we act out of any selfishness or egoistic, desire, then we dwell on it too much. Oh, I was so bad. See how much I read, but I could still not do a good action. So we beat ourselves up. And mother says, no, that's not the good way. Always look what you want to become and then act accordingly. So then the last thing I wanted to share was, I like this picture a lot. And first of all, what we were sharing, that our journey of this human life is walking from our desiring self because we are too much identified with all our wants and wants. So walking away from it to the true soul, which never wants for it, it gives, it offers itself to the world. So that's the true soul. So that's our journey. And it cannot be walked if we don't become conscious. Whenever the desire soul, the desiring self shows its head up, we have to become conscious. That see, it has arisen again, but no, I'm not giving way. I'm not this. I'm not the pettiness. I'm not the limitation. I am the expansion. I am the goodness. So always identifying with that and putting all that is unrequired in this fire of the, which helps in the growth of spirit. So whenever there is an intrusion from limitation, suffocation, too much dwelling on oneself, without thinking, just putting it into the fire, making the right choice, the highest possible choice each moment, which is benefiting me and also benefiting the other. So this image I really liked a lot, it as if one is many beings in this kind of a troubled ocean, where we are when we are desiring self, and they're all walking towards a greater light. And then there was something on how many a times when we lose motivation and will to live, why that happens. So there was some article by Amrita Da on that. I will maybe put it in WhatsApp group for you to look at, because basically he was sharing that this is the journey that we have to make. We have to become conscious of this wanting and lacking self in us, and we have to choose not to identify with that. Stick with the mother, stick with the divine, and want nothing but the divine. And the divine will unfold the life for us. And for everyone, the unfolding will be different. So we have to go from this muck of filthy, dirty waters, stop identifying with this, and walk towards a greater light every moment. This has to happen every moment. Yeah. So, yeah, anyone wants to share, we can take up reflections.
I want to share, or in fact ask. Um, we talked about desire. Sometimes the desire is there to, um, like you are, um, just to, bring up a happy mood. Like you are sad and you are sitting and now you want to go out and hang out and probably do something which would give you a temporary fun. But then when you come back home, of course, it's gone. But um this is something which keeps which also, like जैसे चिपकना आप बोलते हो ना, like कि आप चिपक गए उस पे, so that thought keeps popping up. So sometimes it feels very right, to do that. And because it is okay for your mood, it is helping you feel better, so it looks very okay. But when it comes from the mind thought, on another side, it looks very bad that I'm following the dictate of the mind. So what is it, and how is it right? Is it not right? Kind of.
Again, no formula. At times one goes out, takes a walk in nature or whatever one is desiring, have an ice cream, and maybe one feels okay, ready to go ahead with life. And because see, the journey is long. The journey from desire soul to true soul is not walked in one day. Yes, every moment the vigilance has to be there, but then there are ups and downs also on the way. So at times we want to fulfill ourselves, as you said, that something is lacking. I don't know what is lacking, and I think that maybe if I go to a mall, I would feel a little better. So okay, go ahead. If you don't have anything better to do, go ahead. But slowly what happens is, that's why with Kalpana ji I was talking of nurturing good things in you, having a taste for the higher and loftier. So earlier I was used to go, say, to meet a friend and to talk to friend about my trouble. But nowadays I have developed a new taste. What is that new taste? I read just a few lines of Savitri. or maybe a few lines of whatever suits you, or maybe stick to the mother for 30 minutes, just the mother, nothing else, nothing doing. So when slowly this kind of conversion happens, then you develop a new taste. Now this new taste cannot be enforced. So that's why I'm saying that if you still feel that going to a mall or buying some new clothes will give you happiness, okay, go ahead. Go ahead. So slowly a stage will come, then you will know that maybe something else. So that's true renunciation. And the example, one of the masters, Tenzing Palmo, she uses one example. She says that like a child, he's very attached to his teddy bear. Now you say, you say to him, oh, you grow up now, grow up out of this teddy bear, now leave it away. Wherever he goes, he takes the teddy bear. Now you cannot snatch the teddy bear away from that child. It will hurt very badly. What can be done is, you maybe show the child a new world where he is now wants to explore. And in that exploration, he leaves the teddy aside. Or when the child grows up, then he automatically drops the teddy because he has something to look forward to. This is true renunciation. Renunciation is not that, I want ice cream, but I still am, I'm reading Synthesis of Yoga, but my mind is on the ice cream. Not like that. That's not renunciation. Go and have ice cream. And know that when you have ice cream, the divine is eating the ice cream through you. Don't forget that. So no need for torturing and pestering ourselves. This has to be done with lots of love. So no need of flagellating or beating ourselves up. No, you would not be granted a ice cream. You have done it too much. Not like that. Okay, grant ice cream. Doesn't matter. And just remember that it's the divine who eats through you. So trying not to eat through greed and grasping, trying to eat with gratitude. That we can try. And slowly it would not be required for our happiness, because we'll have a greater sweetness which is beyond all these little satisfactions. And we may still have an ice cream, doesn't matter. Or go chat with a friend, or pick up a phone call to chat with a friend for hours. But now my happiness is not dependent on that call. That's the thing. Now my happiness is not depending on whether I'm going to a mall or having an ice cream or not. But I do it anyway if required. If the right moment comes, I do it. So again, that stickiness to non-stickiness, what you were sharing. So desire self is very sticky, because it is always lacking, always unhappy. And that's why it jumps on to the next thing. Now I want this, now I want this. So one has to slowly cultivate a habit to be content with the divine Godhead within, which requires time and also many blows and experiences. Doesn't come like that. And that's why Kabir says, okay, you run as much as you want. Okay, you run after that person who you think will bring you happiness. Okay, do that. Because very soon you will realize, no, it can't be gotten from anywhere. So good to have all these experiences, because we get convinced that, yes, I have tried. Still, I could not get a lasting contentment anywhere in this material existence. So that realization brings us back to our self, our home, where we have to find the Godhead within, and then turn everything in its image. Our relationships, our work, going to mall, office, everything has to be now in the image of the divine. Purity. Okay, so now we are all Aryans. Where is my sword? Yeah, yes, Kalpana ji, anything from you?
Yeah. No, I was, one of the qualities is gratitude. So we were talking, there was a talk yesterday about everything, the little things we have, the material possessions we have, we are right grateful for that, to the divine for that. And like now it's raining outside my window. So that's So even you go to a little higher level for the rain, for the small insect I see, I mean, all that. But you know what had come to my mind when once is, I mean, I'm just grateful that the divine is there. I mean, I was just imagining a universe or a world or whatever without the divine there. And what would I be doing? I mean, where I would be going, how I would be living. I mean, what a horrible kind of a, I mean, I just cannot imagine what the universe or what the world would be if the divine did not exist. So just he's there, he's just there. And I mean, yes, people say, there's so much of wickedness in the world and all that. But I would say that the wickedness or the meanness or the nastiness or the cruelty or whatever we see again is so much lesser. Perhaps, I mean, I'm just speaking as a lay person, because the divine is there and you can always turn to him. I mean, वो नहीं होते तो क्या होता, हमारा क्या होता? मैं सोचती कि मेरा क्या होता, मैं जिंदगी में कैसे चलती, कौन सी राह पे चलती, मैं क्या सोचती, सिर्फ शैतान ही होता, सिर्फ शैतान होता इस दुनिया में. And there's nothing, I mean, I could never have conceived of the, I mean, of that the divine exists. It's because you read something or you meet somebody in your life or you come across some writing or in the beginning, like your parents in your house, how is the divine introduced कि ये भगवान है, ये हमारे कुल देवी हैं, यहाँ पे वो पूजा वो नमन करो या we have some puja, some vrat, तो उस दिन कुछ करो. Most of us are like, introduced like that. So at least मतलब वो introduction तो वो हुआ, लेकिन he is there. I think that is the biggest gratitude I mean, I don't know, this is what I keep thinking. Yeah, that's just a reflection I wanted to share, that's all.
Yeah, very true. Yes, yes. Yeah. I think Mother shares exactly what you were sharing, that isn't it amazing? One can be really, really grateful that yes, divine exists. Otherwise, it will, as you were sharing. Yeah. Thank
बहुत
you.
भयानक होता है ये, बहुत भयानक होती है दुनिया. मतलब मुझे कभी लगता है कुछ लिखूं मैं, अगर ईश्वर नहीं होता तो ये दुनिया कैसी होती.
Yeah, why not? Yeah, why not to write
What
about
I
it?
mean, would a flower be a flower? Will the rain be rain? Will a person whom you love or your children, will they be like that, or they will be all wicked? Forget about other people, how I would be such a horrible person without a divine core. I mean, one of the most luckiest, I think we are so lucky, we are so blessed that we have a divine core. Because I was reading somewhere that there are many beings which don't have the divine, and so I don't know how lost they are or what they are doing, what is their life goal, what do they do every day, morning to night. I really don't know, because we at least have कि कभी तो हम जागते हैं, कभी तो हम सोचते हैं कि ओके है तो अपने को ढूंढना है, कभी तो हमारे मन में ये विचार आता है at some point of stage in our life. But बेचारे उनमें they don't have a divine core. पता नहीं क्या करते हैं. They'll all be in darkness all the time maybe. I mean, I don't know. I've not read anything much. I've not thought much. But ऐसे विचार मेरे मन में आते हैं.
Yeah, so I think this is a very good point. Even if a thought has crossed your mind, turn it into a prayer. Don't just leave it like that. Because yes, there are beings who are troubled. And in Buddhist Bodhisattva practice, they go as far as all those beings who want to eat us up. I am giving myself, come eat me up. Because when you eat me up, you will at least have some fulfillment. So if a thought has crossed your mind, don't let it go vain. Pray for them. May they have fulfillment. Whenever, this is a technique of Tonglen, which we do they suggest in Tibetan Buddhism, which is a beautiful technique. I think good time to maybe share about that. So whenever I am suffering and I look at my unease, maybe abandoned, lost in life, don't know what direction, which to go, way to go, connecting with that unease within. Oh, now I know so many of us, how they feel when they are lost in life. Now I know their pain. Now I know how they feel when we are, when we don't know which direction to take in life. So taking in with the in breath, taking in their suffering, taking in their pain, and with the out breath, may they have simplicity and joy of the present moment, just like the rain that you were talking of, the insects watching, watching insects in the rain, having the joy and simplicity of heart. And whenever you feel gladness in your heart, many a times we are happy, we are very content with our life. So the moment you sense that happiness and contentment, again share it. Just like how glad and sweet and happy I feel right now, may everyone partake of this gladness and sweetness. May everyone have their hearts fulfilled and glad and fulfilled. So it's a good idea, if a thought has crossed, turn it into a prayer. Let it purify your being. And not let it just remain at the level, what will they do, who they don't have a divine core. Of course they must be troubled. So connecting with their trouble, now that the thought has crossed your mind, if it doesn't come to me, doesn't come to me, but if now it has come, why not use it to take in their suffering selflessly, and may the divine give us all contentment and simplicity of heart and mind. So wishing myself well and wishing all the beings well also.
Yeah, that's a very nice thought. My question was, my observation was something different, but whatever you've said, it's really something. I mean, I'm glad I talked about it because you've said something. What I was thinking, there are certain vital beings I've read in somewhere in the works of the mother, who don't have a divine core. They don't have the psychic being. I don't mean human beings. Human beings have it everywhere, unless there may be exceptions who are controlled by the undivine or whatever. So most of us have that. Yeah, but there are other vital beings. I don't know what they are and how they are. I haven't not read much, but they don't even have that the divine core. They don't have the psychic being. So it must be a terrible life for them. I mean, I don't know. Is it? I mean, if I have a minute, if I could ask, is it like the formation of a jealousy, like a person who's jealous, that is a vital being which cannot have, it is just full of jealousy and all the time jealous. It knows nothing else, because if you give it a form, if you give it a shape, is that what it means? I mean,
I think something like that. Dr. Soumitra Basu tells much about it. So I would recommend listening to him, maybe reading what he has written on this, vital beings and all that. I don't know much about it, but definitely if you see now, if one moment of your stepping back from your jealousy, now this is how we can contribute. If I see jealousy arising in me, when I don't listen to the dictate of jealousy, step back, that's my social contribution. Mother says that there is a world of desire, there is a world of jealousy, greed. These are worlds from which we draw our desires. So when I don't listen to the dictate of any of these, jealousy, desire, or whatever, we make that ripple, we make a progress. One drop of jealousy less, because we are fueling it. The more we listen to the dictate of jealousy and desires, we are fueling those words. So this is our biggest social responsibility, to unite with our true consciousness.
So does it actually help to give a good kick to it, or to just throw it away?
If you can, at times we are not able to give it a good kick, so then other tools may be required. But if you can kick out desire, knowing that it's not your true self, it's just coming from outside as an intruder, it works. Then keep mother besides you, and always always seek her help. Yes.
Because I feel I should kind of just kind of how, suppose there's a buzzing insect which comes in, a mosquito comes in, we'll kind of throw it away, that you just go away. Or if there's something else, you give a something dirty is there, we may give it a kick. I mean, we don't do it actually.
Along with that kick that you are talking of, as I was sharing, that you have to distract yourself in something higher and lofty, because just kicking would not do the purpose. Because if I'm just idle, doing nothing with my time, all my energies just kicking, that is not going to, because it will become too overwhelming. So that's why good distraction, either in mother, thinking about the mother, reading about the mother, whatever benefits me. So parallelly, a good distraction has to be there. Yeah. Yes, Pratima.
Yeah, actually, I could not understand the concept of vital being where we are saying they don't have the divine core. Is it because everything is consciousness? That's what we read. Then what are these beings? Like without consciousness, this is what we are saying?
No, in the sense that consciousness is masked, just like in a stone, for example. In a stone, consciousness is masked. It doesn't appear to be alive. Consciousness is there, it's sleeping. In human being, it is very obvious that of course I am conscious. It's obvious. So in those beings, I would suggest listening to Dr. Sumitra Basu, because he does talk about vital beings and all these other anti-divine powers. For those who are interested, I usually keep myself away from them. I don't know why. For me, I feel, when you stay with the mother, she takes care of all the vital beings. So golden key, we can stick to her. But if you are interested, we may be interested, better to listen to what I can think of as Dr. Sumitra Basu. He talks about that. So it's just that the consciousness is sleeping. It's not awake. Yeah, James, you want to share something? You're muted.
Yeah, sorry. No, these are sort of vital entities which circulate in the universe and cause havoc and disarray. These are hostile forces. So they proliferate everywhere wherever there's any resonance, they proliferate. We just have to be on guard, we have to disengage, and we have to connect when they come. We have to really be very, very alert, and we have to basically be very vigilant. But Dr. Sumitra Basu, he has an event on Monday, Occultism, Psychology and Illness. So if you want to join, just contact me and I can enroll you in that particular program.
Thanks, James. Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you. And I think one of the things which I read with the mother is, for example, why to again become desireless and let go of desires while we are alive. She says, because you go away, like you disintegrate, your element disintegrate. Now the element of desire which was still unfulfilled, that can actually piggyback on somebody else who is still alive. So your desire, say you were desirous of a person, for example, or lust, greed, all that piggybacks on something else, somebody else who is alive. Would you want to do that to somebody? How torturous that sounds.
Yeah.
That my desires, which I was not able to let go of, they are now bothering another one.
It's nothing more contagious than desire. Yeah.
Yes.
Go into an atmosphere, a room or a market where it's just full of desire. It's just, yeah, it's incredible.
Again, those of us who, yes,
yeah, sorry.
Please go ahead.
This path is so difficult.
Why do you say so? Why?
It's so difficult. I mean, it is easy in a way, yeah, but it's so difficult. Yeah, you get me, na? We have to be constantly vigilant. We have to constantly introspect. You have to constantly retreat back. You have to constantly be aware of what you're doing. And
yes,
people
Kalpana,
think,
but if we truly surrender, it's very easy.
sorry?
If we truly surrender, Kalpana, it's very, very easy.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's why I think if we don't have a love for the path,
Yeah.
then we can't walk it. You're right. Then it becomes difficult. But if we develop a love for the path and we see that there is nothing in this life that interests me more than this path,
Yes.
then it's not difficult.
Yes.
Yeah. And if there is anything else that interests you and not this path, better go there.
Go for that.
Yes.
Keep the aspiration burning. Yeah.
So,
Yes.
may I say something? It's also, I think that when we say the path is difficult, and if we are constantly thinking, that I have to be vigilant, I have to be careful, I have to be this, I have to be that, one has to guard oneself against of becoming too obsessed with all this. because then again it becomes a self-preoccupation. One has to balance it out. Yes, be conscious, be alert, be aware. But again, if it becomes too much, it becomes like a vicious cycle. Then it becomes an obsession, which is again a deterrent to the path.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, mother says, somebody asked the mother, some sadhak asked the mother, Mother, I'm reading Sri Aurobindo's works and all that. I'm doing it for some years now, but I don't think I'm progressing. So mother said, you are doing it all wrong. And she said that you don't have to do the yoga. You give yourself to me, I will do the yoga for you. Just that self-giving has to be there. That also takes time because there are so many other pulls that pull us here and there. So if that self-giving is more pure and increasing in degree, then I think there is a relaxation that comes in the being, and this kind of a difficulty actually transpires, it goes away. Because one has given oneself to the mother. For everything, one is just relying on her guidance. Then it becomes relaxed and easy. So if you are putting too much effort, we can be really sure that something is wrong. You know, as mother said, you are not doing it the right way. You know, take it easy. Yeah.
Yes, self-giving is the key in this year.
Self-giving, yes, yes. Yeah. So any last comments before we end? Anyone?
Even the desire for the divine is a desire anyway, isn't it? A higher desire, but a desire nevertheless.
Yeah. So actually, I think this is one of the best desires to have in the beginning, desire for the divine. But mother says then the desire turns into an aspiration, because desire has a quality of agitation with it.
Right.
Oh my God, I am not getting to the divine, you know, something like this. So desire has a quality of agitation.
Yeah.
But desire can transform into aspiration. It is quiet, persistent. Yes, I want to unite with the divine, and I know that I will. It also has a lot of faith. So one of the absolute desires, if we want to go in the ladder of the desire, yes, the desire for the divine, but then it transforms into aspiration. It doesn't remain a desire.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So the key is faith.
Faith, yeah, I think, yeah. Faith that we will all, if we really truly want
Yes.
it, we will get it.
Yes.
Yes.
True. Thank you.
Thank you. So thanks everyone for being there all these 4 days. Thank you, James, for organizing.
Yeah,
And yeah.
it's been a joy. Monica. Yeah, I hope you've all got the recordings okay and the summaries.
Yes.
They've come out quite quickly to this time. Actually, 3 have already come.
Yeah.
Last one will come on Monday.
Okay.
Today's recording will come on tomorrow, yes.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Great. Thank you, everyone. Thank you,
Thank you
James.
so much.
Thank you.
Thank you
Thank you very
Thanks,
much.
Monica.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
James.
Namaste.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.